You mentioned that for weak hadith, the probability that the Prophet said it is greater than the probability he did not. Is this true for all weak hadith? It's true for all hadith except for mutawatir hadith. I mean, we forget that even the sahih hadith are probabilistic, but the probability becomes very, very high. So if it's in Sahih Bukhari, it's going to have like a 95 to 99% probability. And when you get all six agreeing on the hadith, it's very strong. If it's mutawatir, it's factual. It's just like 1066 or 1492. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That is not a debatable fact. You can't debate whether or not it was 1491 or 1493 because it's an agreed upon mutawatir khabar. So it's a factual account of something that happened. And history is like that. Much of history is factual. We know that there was a president in 1960 elected named John Kennedy. He was Irish Catholic. We know those are mutawatir. You can't debate those. If you start debating those, then you're just a mad person. Like the Hindu PhD who's trying to prove that the Taj Mahal was built by Hindus before Islam. He's got a whole website. This is madness. So the mutawatir hadith are like that. You can't debate mutawatir hadith. Naha Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then you have tawatur al-lafzi wal ma'nawi. You have different types of tawatur. So one of them that is mutawatir is Naha Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam an qatl al-awladi an al-nisa'i wal-awlad. The Prophet prohibited killing women and children in war. It's prohibited anytime, but it's prohibited in war to kill women and children. And also in the riwayah, ajir or non-combatant. Right? The only people that are people that are fighting. The Malikis took this so seriously that if there's women, because it's permissible if they're fighting you on the battlefield. Like now there's certain armies that allow women in combat. So if they're fighting you, it's permissible. But in the Maliki madhab, they took that mutawatir hadith so seriously that they said if you saw a woman on the battlefield, you should avoid fighting her to get out of that prohibition. So don't go unless they tried to get you. You should go somewhere else. So, these are examples. So the hadith, the probability is greater or lesser depending on the level of weakness. And some of, people forget, some of these muhaddithun, they were thiqah, 100%, because you have to have 5 criteria for a sahih hadith. And one of them is dabt, that they had to be a dabt. Right? So if they had a weak memory, right, then even though they were trustworthy, but if they had their weak memory, they'd be like geniuses today. A lot of these people, the Dabat, Imam al-Bukhari, when he went to Iraq and they tested him, they took 100 different sanad. Each sanad had like 4 or 5 people in it. They took 100 and mixed them all around. And then they quoted the hadith to him. And from his memory, he said, those hadiths, he said, the first one is not sahih according to that sanad, because you related it this, and this, but it is sahih according to this, and then he corrected it. He did all 100 without making one mistake. And when they saw that, they just said, Nusallimu lahu imamat al-hadith. You're the imam of this age. They gave that. Wal Mayaba, when he went to Al-Azhar, this is a true story. When he went to Al-Azhar, he taught hadith at Al-Azhar, but they wanted to test him. And when he met all the muhaddithun, he said, Ana fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan. And then he gave he said, who are you? He said, fulan ibn fulan, ibn man, ibn fulan, ibn man, ibn fulan. And they went as far as he could, each one, all the shuyukh. He said, you can meet me tomorrow to test me. So the next day when he came back, he said, Assalamu alaikum fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan ibn Assalamu alaikum fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan Assalamu alaikum fulan ibn fulan ibn fulan. And he went through the whole room and then he said, Man ana? Who am I? And none of them knew he could do right thing, And one of the Mauritanian Huffaz saw 2 men get in a fight and they were speaking a Tekror language, one of Bambara. And they had a fight and one of them killed the other. When the police came, he was the only witness. And they asked him what happened. He said, I don't speak their language, but he said, and then he quoted him with the words he said in the language, and then he did the other one. And people say that sounds crazy, but I've met these people. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. Literally seen it with my own eyes. So that's, people don't know the level of memory that the Muslims were given. They were granted incredible gifts in memory. So, the hadiths, there are many hadiths that might not be sound, but they're, bits and things like that. But if they have